now the preparation time has expired. Welcome to the judge test of BP Novice WEST 2017. The motion for this round is this house will ban abortion at all stages of pregnancy. Now I'd like to welcome Prime Minister to open your case within some minutes. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen in this house. Under the status quo, many people will commit sex, and sometimes it makes sometimes the women become pregnant, and it leads to the miserable situation for the children and also their parents. So to prevent those kind of situations, we are happy to ban abortion at all stages of pregnancy, and it can lead to the people more can make people more responsible to their pregnant, and it leads to better consequence for their children and their parents. So that's why we are happy to propose this motion. So firstly, I'd like to set up a model. If some we would ban abortion, if someone would break this rule, we would strongly punish those kinds of people, and we would make more and more contraception education to prevent undesired children or irresponsible pregnant. And we would exempt the case of rape, because in this situation we can justify those kinds of killing people. So I'll explain our arguments. So firstly, why we cannot justify the killing fetus in the first place. And in this current society, we every people regard the street alive is the most basically good with comparing death, because if people living, they can at least they have some choices to do anything. That's why under the status quo, killing is bad, because it violates people's freedom of not to be killed. And in such context, abortion is contradicting under the status quo, because killing children means killing fetus, or abortion means it deprives the future potential life in potential life.
Clarification?
Yes.
So are you going to all cases that they want to abort due to religious reason or the existence of perfect rationality and so forth?
We would like to exempt only rape cases, because I'd like to explain in my later, because that's why under the status quo, killing and increased abortion is not good for the children principally. And now I'd like to explain why rape is okay. We can justify the killing in such situation, because in such choices, parents have no autonomy by themselves. In this situation, we have one analogy, but that is self-defense. in the case of self-defense, they are not responsible their situation, and there are no choice to do self-defense because they never do self-defense. They will be killed or attacked by the hostile person. Similarly, in the case of abortion, in the case of abortion or rape, the parents have no responsibility of their pregnant, and also if they without abortion, the parents freedom will be violated because they have to take their they have to care their children, and to some extent they will lose their freedom. So that's why we can justify the rape cases, we can allow abortion. And from now on, I'd like to move on to my second argument. That is, after taking this plan, we can provide more rationality or more caution to the parents or potential parents. In our model, we would provide more sexual education. That is, even fetus is alive, and so that's why killing fetus is also killing regarded as murder. And
Sorry?
no, thank you. And in this context, the people have a huge risk about undesired, unexpected abortion, pregnancy. So that's why they have no choice to consider more deeply about their pregnancy, and so that's why they can be more rational or more cautious about their casual sex or their commitment. So, and in this through this process, we can the number of people who have no caution about their pregnancy is decreasing after taking this plan. So that's why we can prevent a miserable situation for the baby and also for the parents. So that's why we are happy to propose this motion.
Thank you for remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the leader opposition to open your case within the minutes. Here.
Thank you, Chairperson. In the first place, we strongly believe, government should ban abortion. Of course, to the of the dangerous situation or physically of with a person who will become mother. So such to become too big the baby becomes bigger and to birth before the birth. So however, as an opposition side, eventually as an opposition side, we should protect the mother and we should protect the people who have no awareness and who have no environment to raise the children. So that's why we strongly oppose this motion. And before moving our argument, I have some rebuttal for the government side. They mentioned about the babies' miserable situation, and to kill is bad for children's rights. However, we believe, it is also occurs in their paradigm because I'll explain our argument. So, and second point, they have benefit for and government can educate more, and sexual education will be developed. However, it is not true because people who want abortion, they are so immature, and they have less responsibility to avoid the pregnancy. So, and also practical harm, and in Japan there are no guarantee of medical insurance to avoid the pregnancy, such pills or some medical treatment. So in this context, and some less money people surely avoid the choice to do the to not do pregnancy. So their point doesn't stand. And I explain. First, I show the current situation, and I explain people who have couples harm and children's harm. First, in the status quo, irrational judgment leads to contrary to expect pregnancy. So couples who have no money to care new family, so baby, and couples who have no awareness to raise the children. So these couples have choice, and these couples take choice to abortion. So and also these people are needed, and these people are protected. These people should be protected because, and firstly, mother's harm exists, and the baby's harm also exists. First, mother's harm, and people who need abortion, they have two types. First, they are so younger, or they are so old childbirth. And first, younger, they have physical danger or mental danger. So as I said before, and who have no awareness, and people who have no awareness, they cannot construct the environment to raise the children because they have no money, and they have future, and as a future, and this mother or this father, no thank you, and this father and have possibility to neglect the child. So this is so harmful for child, and this is so harmful for mothers or fathers. So to neglect their child, and also all childbirth, they are so dangerous. Their body itself. So they have no environment to give birth the child, and also they have possibility to die because of this. So this is so harmful for mothers. and also children's harm actually exist. If their paradigm, all children without the except the rape exist in world, and children have to live with troublesome. Some children have to live with troublesome or difficulty because their mother or father have no environment to raise the children, and children have possibility to they cannot children cannot take the enough education or enough life or comfortable life. So this considering this harm, children after taking this plan, even if after taking this plan, children are also miserable. So on this point, we strongly oppose this motion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the Deputy Prime Minister to continue your case within 7 minutes. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, crucial failure from their side of the house. They didn't explain the reason why they think the children is different from the fetus, right? What makes a difference between the fetus and the children? As a team of the best have the vested interest in the life of bone itself, we are extremely proud to propose this motion to save more fetus, that is to say the future children. We think killing a fetus is the same thing as killing children. To prevent this and to make our parents more responsible, we're very proud to propose this motion. I'm gonna bring you mainly three things. First, where is the line of the life, and whether or not the fetus should be treated as a life or something can be manipulated perfectly by their parents. Secondly, I want to talk about what is the correct responsibility about the parents. Lastly, I want to talk about why having my first argumentation, which is better for a children, that is a fetus, that is to say future children. Sorry. So before we move on to that, let me rebut what the previous speaker has said. Right? Basically, what the previous speaker has said is one thing. So some parents immature is not capable to raise their children. Then in that case, that abortion should be justified. But that's why we say from my Prime Minister, we are happy to encourage education. What is the risk of having sex, or what kind of we are happy to encourage the more contraception or make them more responsible and should be prevent that situation. If parents think I cannot raise the children, we encourage them not to have a sex or very sure that have the 100% contraception or so forth, right? And secondly, even if even if that kind of 100% responsibility is not sure, we think what they have said is very horrible. Simply because they didn't differentiate the children and the parents. If their logic is true, parents can kill the fetus merely because they cannot see the future, better situation for the children, for fetus. Are you okay with the kill the children when parents judge I cannot raise children happily, future, or so forth, right? We think if their logic is true, we think they can kill the children. Parents can kill the children wherever they think I cannot raise my children enough. I don't have enough money to give a proper education for that. Simply because again they didn't differentiate differentiate children and the fetus. That's the reason why we think what they have told you is clearly unrealistic and should not be justified. So move on to my first argumentation, right? Where is the line from outside? Where is the line of the life? And we think from outside the house, we think that at the moment fertilization is success. We think that kind of things should be treated as a life. Why? Because simply, if any negative factor won't intervene that things, that's something fertilized success will be a life, right? They are promised to born in this planet. And as we maybe the more people consented at this point, we think the life or born itself should be treated as something good thing without any reason, right? We think killing is bad and surviving is good. Then we think that when the nothing will intervene something and something is promised to enter this world, we think that should be treated as a life. And that's the reason why we think that whether or not the fertilized success is a clear distinction whether or not we treat them alive or not. That's the reason why we think we ban abortion at all stages, right? We don't think sometimes suddenly something is right and before that something is not right. We think if they think so, opposition side show us where is the clear distinction between the life or not. Furthermore, but unfortunately, they didn't show any differentiation or any line. Where is the line of the life? That is a crucial failure, and we think that our side criteria is more valid than their side than nothing. So, and having that, so far we have to notice for fetus or the fetus or something promised of their life should be treated as a children, as a human being. We think that is a assumption so far. So having that, we think I want to talk about I want to talk about more two things. First of all, what is the correct responsibility of the parents? They said the parents have a right to kill their children or fetus when they cannot see the very bright future for the children. But as I have said, it is not true, right? If some parents kill their children merely because they cannot give for example, food, for example, education, so forth, we think that parents already punished under our paradigm. We think the correct responsibility as a parent is two in this context. One, if parents cannot see the future, enough future or enough resources to raise children, that parent should not be having sex, sex without condom or pill in the first place. And secondly, if they had a fetus, we think they try to raise their children as much as possible. For example, if they think they cannot get the money to raise enough children, they have to get a procedure or social welfare, or they have to get a part-time job to, as much as possible, make them children happier, right? Because that is a valuable life as a children, as a fetus. We think no one have a right to arbitrarily manipulate or control whether or not that people should die without their autonomy or only by their only by their judgment. Merely because parents think I cannot raise anymore, it doesn't mean that person are entitled to kill their children. That's the reason why we think this the responsibility should be the parents should be the responsible for one, not to give children when they think they cannot raise, and secondly, if they have children, they have to try to raise, not kill, as much as possible. So having last year I want to talk about which is better for the fetus, that is the future children. We think in the status quo, due to the existence of the system of the abortion, many parents cannot be fully responsible. Some people, do not set the condom for their pleasure or and having the children, recklessly, and they sometimes kill their fetus easily. But as I have said in the first argumentation, fetus should be treated as a human being or their children, right? Same as life. Then we think the abortion is for that kind of the very reckless or stupid reason should not be justified. Under our paradigm, as I have said, we already encourage contraception or educate what is a risk or what is a hardship to be a parent, and we think the more people will be responsible for having sex or for getting the condom and so forth, and we think the more parents will be responsible for their future, more people prepare after they give birth to their children, and we think we can save more life and we can prevent the reckless killing on their fetus. For this reason, we think the opening government take this bit. Thank you.
Thank you for remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the Deputy Leader position to continue the case within 7 minutes. Take care.
you, Mr. Speaker. So today, position side think that if the government side ban the abortion at all stages of the pregnancy, that as my partner told you that the mother, not only mother but also children will go to the more miserable and more serious situation than the abortion, and moreover that we that if we take this motion that the government side will not succeed in the making the norm that like that the norm that the know that the casual sex is bad, or that they can they will not they can't succeed in the making the couples to do the rational or responsible rational sex or make the responsibility. So today we our product is more better than the government side. So today we happy to oppose this motion. So firstly, I want to I have some rebuttals to the government side. So they say that if we take this motion, they can make the more they can educate about sex more than in the status quo, and they can make they can make the couples more responsible, and the know that that rational sex is best. They can succeed in the making the know that rational sex is good, but we don't think so, because that there's a people who can't do the rational sex or the they can't do the rational sex because of the lack of money and so on. So I want to explain this point in my second argument, and secondly, that the previous speaker has said that we don't explain that the difference between the children and feeder, but we think that the feeder in my partner already told you that in my model that we ban the abortion that after the 10 weeks later they become pregnant. So if in the in like the status quo, so in the paradigms we can the mother can make the abortion when their children their baby are very the baby age is like 10 weeks, less than 10 weeks. So such children don't have the feelings about the sad or the miserable and so on. So but the children have the clear emotion that sad or miserable and so on. So and they also love her mother and so on. So but we happy to abort. We happy to abort. We can happy to abortion in the paradigm. So and let's move on our argument. Today we have two arguments. First argument is that the harm for the mother and children, and second argument is that about the responsibility and rationality. So today I want to explain. No, thank you. I want to explain one by one. So firstly, that the harm for the mother and children. So my partner clearly told you that in the status quo, what kind of people tend to make abortion. It is that the university student or high school student. So or the very young women who don't have enough money or enough time to raise up their baby. So if the students are if the students can't do the abortions, they have to give up their academic academic grade, or so, and they can't graduate their high school, and they also can't graduate from the university. So if such things it happen, so they can't get good jobs. A good job, so they can't earn money, and so on and so and so in such situation they birth her baby, the children they can't serve enough education and enough food and so on. So it is same as a child abuse. So no, thank you. Child abuse. So it is very more. So it is more miserable situation. So than the abortion. So and no, thank you. Secondly, yes.
Interview one.
What can you subjectively conclude? Not to be born is much better than harsh circumstances after their birth for fetus or future children.
So because if such mother births children, so they will suffer from the miserable situation like the child abuse. So it is better to abortion. And second argument is rationality and responsibility. So even if we make such norm, so there are people who can't buy the sexual goods because of lack of money. So such people can't do the abortion, and they also suffer from the miserable situation as I told you in the first argument. And secondly, that even if we succeed in the main norm, that sometimes people will fail to birth control. So with the sexual goods. So such people, so even if we can educate the more modern status quo, the people who suffer from the miserable situation will not degrade. So today we are happy to oppose this motion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the member of government to show your extensions within some minutes. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairperson. And we think we should ban all abortion because pregnancy condition is a responsible one. So even if it's not hope pregnancy, mothers should protect their baby. So we strongly proud of this motion, and we ban abortion even if it's rape case. And I will show extension, and I will show our comparison. From these substances, I want to include that. I want to tell the matter for one side, and they said mothers who want to do abortion, they don't have monies, and they don't have situation to raise children. But we, as I said before, pregnancy itself is responsible condition. So I will explain in our extension. So let me move our extension. We have to extension first, and first, why government have a right to limit abortion? Second, and pregnancy obligation. Let me move on first extension. Why government have the right to limit abortion? And because government is only actor to protect fetus, its onlyness unable society to intervene mother right protect fetus. And for example, in society, firefighter case, if fire occur, firefighter put out the fire without anyone request it, because if they don't put out the fire, someone will suffer. And they are only after to put out fires. So, and they have responsibility to protect students. So, existence of someone become to be damaged. Society have responsibility to protect protect people. So I can say same thing in fetus case. Fetus who can't protect their mother, society only protect them. So society have the right to limit abortion. Sorry later. And let me know second extension and obligation obligation of pregnancy. As I said before, pregnancy condition is responsible one, and mothers have her fragile child in her body, even if that pregnancy not hope case. And after taking this plan, selfish pregnancy can decrease and also in rape case, in the first place, mothers have some burden, but society can decrease their burden. For example, their baby birth and their painless delivery. It exists mother harm can decrease. And there are some lives we can protect. We shouldn't abolish fetus. And if there are some mental harm for mother, but it is clear lives is more important than their mental harm. And let me move a comparison. And which paradigm will harm each paradigm more harmful for children and parents. In opposition paradigm, fetus whose parents don't want to not for fetus whose parents want to do abortion. Such fetus have no way to escape this. They will only they will only dead. But in our paradigm, even if mothers have some risk, but it is difficult to with mother's death. And mother's burden can mitigate, as I said before. Use labor, use painless labor, and something like that. We can. So we can. So our paradigm have less harm than their paradigms. For these reasons, we strongly proud of this motion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the member opposition to show extensions within 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, of course, we should mitigate possibility of the irrational sex and casual sex and accidentally pregnancy. So, but sometimes such pregnancy happens. So, we should not make mothers have burden. We should not make mothers have burden because mothers have we have some reasons to prioritize mother over the fetus. So for my argument, I make several rebuttals. So previous speaker said that government is only actor to protect the fetus. That's why the government should protect the fetus. But this debate is about which we should prioritize the mother or fetus. If government taking this motion, there are no actor to protect the mother. Only actor is not cannot become the reason or protect children. So other rebuttal integrated my argument. So I have two arguments. I'm talking about two things. So first is why we can prioritize the mother over the fetus. So second is the government should only mitigate the possibility of the accidentally pregnancy. So first argument. So why we can just prioritize the mother over the fetus. concerning the contribution to the society and contribution to assurance, mother is more contribute society than the baby. So of course baby not have the assurance of contribution. So because they are young and too young, and so they may die soon, or they will be bad person and so on. So that mother already contribute society to some extent. So paying tax and she is paying tax and so on. So people who contribute to society is so can get some guarantees to get the right as a return. So government, as a government, we have to give the return for the contribution of the mother. So concerning the contribution, we should prioritize the mother. Yes.
If that criteria is true, again, parents can kill their children because they already contribute to children. What you have to explain the essential reason why ending the summer life is justifiable.
I said that thanks for the contribution, mother gets some right, some choice. So government stance is all abortion should be banned. So as opening governments successfully told you, sometimes the accidental pregnancy will happen. So the right is mother need to have right to killing the baby. So because they do the contribute already. So and second argument is that we should mitigate only mitigate possibility of the accidental pregnancy. So because human is sometimes become irrational. It's prevents it is impossible. It's impossible. So we should not make such people have the responsibility. So for example, I take analogy as tobacco tax. So tobacco tax is tobacco is make sometimes people irrational. We know or we are not that, but so tobacco tax is mitigate the such things. So not banned. So because people sometimes becomes irrational. So that's why we can justify mother. So thank you.
Thank you for the remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the government whip to summarize this debate within some minutes. Here.
the question which we need to answer here is which is suitable attitude for the society to take when the life and existence of the life is in the question. Because it's a society which makes the value of the baby. It's society which grants the right to kill the baby, which grants the right to protect themselves, that is to say, protect the mothers themselves. That is why the societal action and reaction towards how to deal with the baby is the question which must be answered here. So that's why the closing government is obviously contributing to the debate to begin with. So I'm going to talk about two things. First, I'm going to fulfill the extensions coming from the closing government, that is to say why this principal argument is central part of the debate. And secondly, we're going to talk about why, even under their side of the house, why they are, even we take their argument to the maximum extent, why they are still behind the closing government. So firstly, I'm going to fulfill the extensions coming from the CG. So first, major extensions coming from my partner is mainly about two things. First, society have the responsibility to protect the weak when society is only actor, right? For example, the police or the fire workers, because of the fact that they only have the institutional capacity to protect these people when they are in danger and when they are jeopardized, and therefore without the requirement of these people or without requirement of decision whether or not they deserve to be protected, but still only this justifies for the government to intervene that sort of danger, ladies and gentlemen. So we clearly prove to you the clear distinction of the societal responsibility. That is to say, society have the moral duty not to deserve the weak when they are only actors, right? So that is the first principle coming from our side. And secondly, my partner also told you that state of pregnancy in and of itself make the mother responsible, right? For example, we have the PL law, that is to say, even if the corporations do not have the fault, but still corporation must be responsible for that, when their products make a danger to the other people, right? So as long as the mother and the corporation as well, they dealing with the people who are vulnerable with their products, with their actions, right? Then that principle extends to the mother. That is to say, as long as you contain the vulnerable actors in your body, then that justifies you, that makes you responsible for that action, for that protections, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the major two principles coming from our side. And why these are sufficient contribution, ladies and gentlemen. First, we justify the principle debate. That is to say, as I told you, the existence of the life is in the question. So we need to justify what is the proper recognition and proper reaction by the society, right? That is why the societal reaction towards the baby must be answered. And we clearly answer towards these questions. Why? Because first, life is conceptual, and it's society which allow them to kill the baby or not to kill the baby, right? So society is the first doctor which actually hugely affects the action of the mothers, right? That is a principle of the societal action must be justified. And what we told you is like this, right? Only this does justify the intervention by the state, by the community, by society. Why? Because even as I told you, we're not sure whether or not the fetus is alive. We are not sure whether or not the fetus is deserved to be protected, right? But still, even in that case, onlyness does justify, onlyness does force the society to protect these people. Why is that so? Because firstly, even we see the cultural heritage, or we see the refugees, which is protected by the state when the state is only active. Because the state, we are not sure whether or not they are deserving to be protected, but because the society is only active, and therefore society is intervening towards it and actually protect it, right? So we say that this actually extends to the baby. That is to say, the baby, we are not sure that baby deserves to be protected, but in terms of societal reaction, and principally, the society has a responsibility to intervene it, even if that is not, we are not sure about whether or not it is alive, right? So we say that clearly justify the principle about why society can deprive the right to take the abortion to begin with. Secondly, also we show the capacity of the society even when the society put the strict responsibility on the mother. That is to say, as my partner clearly told you, the states of pregnancy in and of itself make the mother responsible. And we say we've already clearly told you about an example of penal law, for example, like strict responsibility of the corporation or states, right? We say that that is actually proven. And is it burden of mother? Probably yes, but we've already also told you that society still has the capacity of helping them, right? We see the example of baby post, for example, or like the exemption of the tax, maybe, or like supportive system by the society and the community, right? We say that even if that is the burden on the mother to some extent, but still pregnancy, states of pregnancy in and of itself make the mother responsible, and that is why society should choose this sort of attitude and stance towards the baby, which is not sure, which is not clearly distinct, defined as a baby or not. So that is why the closing government still justified the debate. So secondly, I'm going to talk about why the other teams are already behind us in today's debate. So firstly, the closing government. So firstly, closing government's arguments contradict themselves, right? Because if the amount of the contribution can decide the value of the life, then probably a lot of people are already abandoned under their side of the house, right? For example, we see, the people who are not contributing to society by, addicted to drug. Sorry for some people, but actually their principle is not defending themselves, right? So their argument is in and of itself nonsense to begin with. But secondly, their argument has no logical contribution to deny the motion to begin with, right? Yeah, okay, probably amount of the contribution decides the value of the life, but the thing is, why is it enough reason and sufficient reason to deny the abortion to begin with, right? That must be concluded under their side of the house. So their side of the CEO is already failing by themselves. Then secondly, the OO. So basically, OO showed us the end doesn't justify means. That is to say, even if we ban abortion, but still children are going to be not happy, right? We say that no, mother have a responsibility. So we told you that the responsibility. Regardless of the happiness of the children, but still, because of as long as we have the principle and strict principle that is this societal action, and that in that case the case is not already failing because of the extensions coming from the closing government, and that is why I'm proud to propose.
Thank you for remarks. Now I'd like to welcome the opposition whip to summarize this debate within some minutes. Here.
Deputy Prime Minister asked us what the difference between the fetus and child is. So we think there is no difference between them. Just people want to believe that there is some differences. Because if they can believe in so, they can justify to abort. However, we think it's important for them to be able to believe in so. So because taking abortion is the extremely important choice for them, should be guaranteed as government. That's how to stand on abortion bench. So to examine this debate, I have to analyze two question points. First is about the just simple parity between the mothers and fetus. So because the all argumentations coming from the government bench is solely based on this prioritization. So secondly, I will talk about the main positive model coming from the government bench about irrational sex or casual sex, the decrease in those kinds of sex. However, so government said, so we should mitigate in this way. However, just simply we think we should not tackle down this problem in this way. So just we should prevent as much as possible through education and so forth. However, that we should protect those kinds of irrational people or people who irrationally sex and to want to abort and so forth. That is important choice as government guarantee. So all reputations are integrated in my speech. First is about the prioritization between the mothers and the fetus. First, the reason coming from the government is that people can expect the potential of pregnancy because that during the or before having the sex. However, firstly, that during sex, we think the people never have any room to consider those kinds of the knowledges or the risk and so forth. Because generally, in almost all cases, what do people think during having the sex? How that is, for example, how next positioning should be, or how we can satisfy my partner, and so forth, right? So that's why we think perfectly those kinds of people have no room to consider those kinds of risks and can coming up their knowledges and so forth. In addition, even if they do not they know that those kind of knowledges or risks as knowledgeable. However, if there is no room to consider or remember that, we can say that we cannot call it consent in the first place, right? Because that is on action. However, even if they know that is bad, however, when they take the action, if that is situation, for example, pressurized or no choice, the force and so forth, we cannot say that is the consent as well as self-defense. So that's why we think that even if they can have the potential or basic ability to expect know those knowledge and risks, however, that we think there is room to expect those kind of risks. Secondly, in the first place, except for the rape cases, there is so many cases to cannot prevent that the inevitable those kinds of the pregnancy and so forth. Even if I try to using the application, for example, the Luna and so forth, in order to control on the period birth. However, that we cannot prevent the 100% completely my pregnancy. Even if I already take a pill, or even if I always use the condom, I cannot prevent the pregnancy as 100%. That's why it means their case already fell in this debate. Secondly, the reason coming from the closing government is the loneliness. However, my partner will be pointing out, so loneliness cannot be the reason because the situation is the mother's body and the fetus life is totally trade-off, right? So in that situation, of course, the loneliness cannot be the reason because there is no actor to help and support the mother's bodies and so forth. Secondly, so they mentioned about they show example of firefighter case. However, if they trying to go into if the firefighter try to go into fire to help someone, however, that there is high potential, high possibility that firefighter die. Of course, it's absolutely already allowed not to go into fire in the first place, right? So in that situation, even there is a weaker people, however, we can say that if that is a trade-off of their lives, we can already prioritize people who have surely contribute under a serious score. And thirdly, they mentioned about in general we should save the much more weaker people. However, there are three responses here that is the direct engaged toward the closing government, especially the government web. Firstly, their assumption is the fetus is already always weak. However, that is not true because of course, if you have the pregnant and if your pregnancy is disclosed to your friends, of course, sometimes the social norm or the opinions about your opinion from the friends or people around you is that you should have birth, right? So in that situation, of course, the social norm is already prioritized the fetus themselves. That's why we can say the fetus is not already always weak in the first place. Secondly, so we say the life is first, the life, individual life is to have the same value. That's why we can put the priority in that situation. So that's why we think in that situation, we think that's why we think that as already the opening operations are certainly mentioned. So in that situation, of course, the mothers have strong expectation towards their future. They want to do this action or they want to achieve this dream and so forth.
Yeah.
In that situation, we cannot say the always weak people is fetus. Yes?
If life of the fetus and life of mother is trade-off, it is strange my mother is living it up. We think the correct trade-off of the life of the fetus and the parents' selfishness.
So that is mother's selfishness. selfishness, even if they are selfish, that we should save those kind of selfish choice. That is my second flashpoint. Even if selfish, even if irrational, even if casual sex, why we should guarantee the choices as a government? Because the reason coming from the government is one, the fetus is miserable. However, my partner, in addition, the opening operation also told about that even the mother will be miserable, the parents will be miserable if the children or fetus have the disability. Of course, the burden on the parents is so harsh. In addition, the other reason coming from the government is only they are irrational, right? So that's why this tautology analysis cannot stand in this debate. However, my partner clearly mentioned that even if they are irrational, in that situation, what government should do is not pushing the burden to that people. So what government should do is trying hard to prevent those situations. That's why my partner already mentioned about the tobacco cases. Even if people are smoking tobacco too much and people have lung cancer, however, government do not like however, the government never do not to pay tax and not to pay the welfare and so forth. The government already pay welfare those kinds of people, just trying to prevent them. That's why, however, the crossing government never reviewed that point. So that's why we think that because the reason why people for irrationally have a sex is to satisfy the approval desire or to satisfy the sexual desire, those kinds of things is totally inevitable for people. That's why we say as government we should guarantee those choices. That's how to oppose.